Welcome back everybody, this is Awais back with another video on the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can create Angular reactive form library. For the UI, we're going to be using Angular material. Now, any web application or mobile application that you create, you're going to need forms in that. And you could go and create forms using simple HTML, like, use just an HTML input tag. That gets really messy when you have lots and lots of forms. So I was working on one of the projects where I needed to create a lot of forms. I needed input fields and date pickers, stuff like that. So I created a library, which is basically a module which is reusable, and you can use a JavaScript object to create forms in your application. And it gets really easy because you don't have to worry about a validation anywhere in your application. If there's a problem, then the problem is in your library and you go and fix in one place instead of going and finding a form input field on a separate file for a separate page. So here I have this login to account, this UI here. So I'm gonna find this file. So I'm going to show you the structure of my code as well. So I'm using navigation, actually modules, and I'm going to go to authentication, components, and here is our login page. Now here is a login page, right? Now these are some HTML code. Now let's just say I want to add another field here, another password field, or probably another input field. So instead of just going and copy pasting an HTML here, I could find an object that I created. So here is a login object. I have written interfaces for this library as well, where it's strongly typed so developers cannot make any mistake. Also, I'm planning to put that on a GitHub as an open source project, and I would highly recommend to visit the description to see the repository link and then contribute in this project. So this is my plan is to support Angular material and Bootstrap and ng prime UI library. So I'm trying to build this open source project. Now people would be able to use this as npm package. So this is my plan. I would highly recommend check out the description for this repository and contribute and try to improve the code. The concept I'm going to show you, it's pretty amazing. All you need is an object to create another input field. So for example, here I have an input field. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. And now I would like to change some stuff here. So for example, the label, I would just say testing. Type, I will define, let's just say date. Let's not worry about date for now. Let's just say text. Form control name, I'll just say testing. Validators, I don't want email validators. I just want to make sure that user types some value inside this. So basically this login button should be disabled if user don't have this fill in. So we have a placeholder, I'll leave that empty, and for the error message I can say this is the error from testing. Okay, let's just keep default as full. Icon, we can change that. These icons basically coming from Angular material, yeah, here we have a value. I'll leave that value as empty. All right, I'm gonna save this file, and right here in our page we'll see we'll have another field, and then we have that testing error is coming as well because we touched it and we didn't type anything. So this error is from testing, and as you can see the login button is disabled. Now if I say hello and I would like to add another validator, I'm gonna type comma validator dot min length, and I'm gonna say, let's just say 5 characters, and for our type we're gonna change that to number. Let's save this file and it's gonna reload our project. Now here I'll type something like 1 2 3 4, and you can see it's still disabled. I can't click on login because this form has some error. So if I type 5 here, as you can see it come up, and then I can click on a login button now. So as you can see, we can define validators right here. Just to give you an overview of this library, we go to core module, form module, and then here we have some interfaces. So I'll click on input element. Here we have a input element interface, which we can basically make it, strongly typed so developers don't make any mistakes. And all of these things are handled in our HTML. So here's a one component, input component, where it basically takes the object and then renders the form for me. Now, I would like to go and show you one more thing here before we proceed with the tutorial. So here, if I click on login, as you can see, I can grab the data right here. So here we have a key as our field name, form control name actually, and then the password and then the email, and I can get the values and I can send it across the server and then do the stuff. This is a great reusable code that you need only once, and then you don't have to worry about your form. So once you need more functionality within this library, the concept you're going to be learning in this one, you're going to have to enhance this library. So I highly recommend check out the Git repo, and then we can collaborate on this. A quick note, if you think I'm creating really good videos on this channel and you're getting some help from my videos, you can help me out by donating some money. It's not compulsory, it's just me saying, because I'm spending a lot of time on YouTube creating lots and lots of videos for you guys. So you can find a link in the description for a PayPal donate link. Yeah, that's it, and let's get started with this amazing library creation adventure. Okay, so let's get started by creating a new project. I'm in demo projects folder. So go to the folder where you want to create the new project. I'll type ng new and I'll just say forms library. Project is being created, so I'm going to open VS Code. And let me open that folder. Let's run the project. So let's open terminal and I'm going to type ng serve. And we should have this project up and running. So let's just zoom out a bit and let me just expand the ID for now. And I'm going to actually delete everything here. Let's save it, and we don't have anything in our project now. It's empty page. Now let's go to the terminal and I'm going to create a new module. So I'll say ngg module and I'll say modules form, and yep, that's about it. And we should have a module, and then here we have a form, a module there. Next, let's add support for Angular materials. So if you are using Angular 8, now the easiest way to add Angular material to your project by using ng add command. So type ng add Angular /material. Let's press return, and then it's gonna do a couple of things. First, it's gonna download Angular material for us. So I'm going to select this indigo pink theme, up to you. Just to support no, and for animation yes. Our Angular material is done. We have update on app module file, and then also it updated our Angular JSON file, index.html, and style.css file. So just to show you, app module, now I have this browser animation module coming from Angular material. So yeah, now we go to form module, and here we are going to add some dependencies for our form. But first, let's create some files. First of all, we need ngg component, and that would be, let's just say, go into module folder, form component, and then that would be, let's just say, input component. Okay, we should have a component and then the input component there. Once that's done, then we're going to create a new service. So ng service, let's go to module form, and then it goes to services / form. Okay, we got one service there. Now here we have some problem here because it's not getting an icon, so I'm just gonna rename that. I like to see a different icon for components. That's done, and next we're gonna need an interfaces folder. So we'll just go here and right click and create a directory. So interfaces, That's all good now. Let's start filling up what we need in Angular material. For that, I'm going to go to terminal and create another module. So let's type ngg module. I'll name it material. So let's find that in our file explorer. Here we have a module. Now here I'm going to import lots and lots of stuff for Angular material. Just for reference, if you don't need a lot of things here, you can remove them. It's just that I had that file and I don't want to spend a lot of time just, typing out things here. So for the export, we have an export key here, and I'm going to paste some code here for export. Now I'm doing this because I don't want to import these separately. If I just go and import this material module into any module or any module, that all of these things will be available and it's much easier. So in the imports as well, let's add a comma and let's add all of those things. So basically we have all the Angular material stuff here. Now this is because I was working on Angular material project which needed lots and lots of things, not just forms. So you don't need all of these. You just need math input field, this one, input module. You need probably math select module, right? But we'll just keep it this way. But when I upload this repository on a GitHub, I'll make sure that I polish it up, okay? So once that's done, we're going to go to our module and we're going to go to form module, and here I'm going to import that material module. So let's just do material module. It will auto import from source folder. So we want this input component be accessible for modules which are going to import this form module. So we're going to have to add this input component into our export key. So I'll type export. Okay, so that's all good now. Next, we need to add a support for Angular reactive form module into our form module. So I'll start typing reactive and it's going to auto import from Angular/forms folder. Okay, now we have a support for Angular reactive forms, which is great. Now we're going to go to app component.ts file. Now here you can see we don't have anything else. I'm just going to get rid of this title as well. That's all good now. And I'm going to go back to input.component.ts file. And here we're going to write some code now. So basically in our input file, we need a few things. We need to have an input decorator, which will expect a form group. And also we need to have some form properties, which we will strongly type using interfaces. Then we can have like a, view child for, some element reference there as well. So let's start by, adding some code. So first of all, let's go and then add properties. So I'll use add input decorator. That will be added. And then for that, I'll name it form group. And that type would be form group for that. Okay. That's all good. Now there's a problem here with the input function. We need to, add parentheses right of this. So also we're going to need another input, and that would be form prop. And we're going to need some interfaces for that. I'll leave that any for now. And then we're going to go to interfaces and let's just define some files here, guys. So we'll do input.ts for our interface, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time typing here. I'm just going to copy paste the code, so it's just save us some time. So I'll go ahead and explain things. So let me rename this. So I'll just want to make it identical with my current file. So I'll just do input element, and let me just copy this and paste the code here for you. And now what's happening here is basically it's going to actually forget about attributes there. We're not going to use them. So it's importing validators from Angular forms, and then it has an interface for input element saying, please tell us element and then type and the form control name and the validators, which is an array of validators. error message, and then all of them are optionals. Label, placeholder, disable, these are things are optional. Now we got one input, one interface. Let me just go and copy another one here. Let me create another file, guys, and then I'll say select element. I'm gonna paste the code here. Now here it's gonna cause an error because we need some sort of attributes there. We don't really need them for now because they were optional anyway. Now this is like the first stage of this library. We will spend a lot more time on creating more videos to polish this library. Please have a look at the Git repository and try to be a contributor and help me out to build this library. It's going to be MIT open source project. Alright, that's 2 interfaces are enough for now. I'm just going to rename the app because I forgot to type the TS extension there. Let's save all, and now let's go back to input component. Now here we are going to say either it's input element or it's select element. For the error handling, I'm going to export a class. So let me just go above and then paste the class code here. Okay, so this is like class code here. I'm going to actually import this stuff using auto import. So it says, hey, I can't find the form control. So we'll just add some import right up. So here we have form group, form control, form group directive, and ng form, forming material. And here it says error state matcher, cannot find that. So we're gonna be importing that as well. Okay, so let me explain this class. So basically it's my error state matcher class, which implement error state matcher. And it says if the state is in error, then it's going to, letting us submit the form, or if it's not valid, then it's going to return the actual state of our file. All right, so now we're gonna be using this matcher in our component. So let's just paste that here. Matcher is equal to new error matcher class. Now that's pretty much it is for now. We need, but later on when we work on this, we will probably need element reference and then a rendered to from Angular, which will help us to access the input component. Now this is all good, guys. Now let's let me close some files here. Now this is the main file where you want to actually write your HTML. Now we go to the browser and I'm gonna go to material library. Let's go to component. I'm gonna grab this input, just a simple code. I would like to see if our Angular material is working fine. So let me go to the terminal and let's type ng-serve, and that should give us some sort of form here. Now it's not actually, because in app component HTML we might show that we have this app-input written there. Now it's saying, hey, there's a problem with the attribute. So there's probably an attribute stuff happening into one of the interfaces. Yo, we forgot to remove this line. Let me just save that, and now it should build our project. Let's go to the browser. Let me refresh the page, and there you go. We have Angular material forms which are working. Great news. Okay, so let's go back to the code, and here I'm gonna start pasting some code here, and then I will explain it. So obviously you don't want me to type a lot and lots of code here, because that's not gonna be very helpful. The reason for that, it's gonna take a lot of time, and then it's just kind of useless. So I'm just going to paste a whole bunch of HTML here, and then I'll try to explain what's happening here. Let me just make this bigger so we can see the whole code. Now right on the top, I'm starting this form element, which is basically taking a form group from our input TypeScript file, looking for this form group property, and then next div is basically checking if the type of the element is input. Okay, now if the type of element is input, it's going to run this sort of code. So let me just, that code it's gonna run. Now if it's gonna check whether if the type of the element is select, then it's gonna render this div. Then we have a date picker support there as well, and then the checkbox support as well. Okay, so as you can see, we got pretty much 4 divs with using ngIf. Okay, now when we pass in the form properties into TypeScript file, it's just gonna check it and then it's gonna render that part of the HTML. So for now, we worry about input. So here we're starting a form field. Class would be coming from our properties, and then appearance would be outline, and then we're using this reference variable right here, so you might need something. Then we have a label for that, and then the input field using this mat input directive, which makes it a material input. Okay, then we have a form control name, placeholder, error state matcher, a class if it's any available, and then the value of the field. The next input field is just a test that I was trying to do some things. So let me just comment this out. Now here there's a problem, guys, because in Reels code it's actually considering this project as a Django template. So I'm just gonna go and change this to just simple HTML. Okay, now let's just do undo here and let's press command / and now it's going to write a proper comments. Okay, next we have a mat icon. We're using this mat suffix class and then the form properties from icon. Then we have a bunch of errors. Now this right now I don't like these error handling here. The reason why it's too much HTML here, but this is how I did it for now. Next, you can view the code on a GitHub repository for other elements. Now this is not a proper way to handle errors, but I did it because I needed this library as soon as possible. And then the next thing, we're gonna have to write a function which will help us to create a form group depending on our object. So we go to services and we open the form service. Here we're gonna have to create a logic for our form creation. To create a function of a form group, we need a form builder from Angular Forms. So I'm just going to inject that here. Let's just do private FB, and then that would be form builder. That will come from this Angular form package. Now that's all good. Now we're gonna start creating a function now. So I'm going to name my function form group. Now inside this, we're gonna pass in some parameters. So let's just go here. First of all, we want to expect form object, which basically be a type of select element, and that was going to be an array of select element, or it's going to be an input element. Okay, and also it can pass in validator. So I'll just do a validator. We keep it optional, and that would be validator function. Okay, now on the top it already imported for me a validator function from Angular form. So inside of a function, first of all, let's create a cons object. I'll name it form equal to, we'll just leave that empty. Next, we're gonna loop through our form object. So we'll do form object, and we use a for each. And then inside this, we are going to use a val, which will be a type of input element, or it can be a type of select element. Right now, we're only supporting these two guys, but later on, when we're gonna mature this library, we can do a lot of things. So now, first of all, let's check if val.element equal to, let's just say input. Okay. Then we're gonna create a form, and then for that val.form control name, and we can set that equal to another. Let me just write a code here so it just saves a bit of time. Okay, so we have, if there's an input element, then we create a form, which is a val of form control name would be this. So if we pass in a value, that will be assigned to it. If not, then it will be empty. Then we have a disable. If it is disabled, then yep, it will be disabled. And any validated function will be passed into a form group as well. Okay, then we're gonna continue with else if statement. And then next one would be, let's just do val.element equal to, if it's a select, then do this. I'm just gonna paste that code here. Okay, and then else if val.element equal to, let's just say date picker. Okay, then what we need to do is, I'm just gonna copy and paste that here. So this should be all good now. This should create as a form object. Okay, and after that, once that form object is done, then I'm going to go inside a function, and then I will use if, let's just say validate. There's going to be like a property coming along. Then we can create a new form builder dot group function, and then we can pass in our form object. And then if there is a validator, we can say, hey, take this validator object as well, which would be validate. There's one mistake that I've done here. I need to have this same spelling for validator and validator. So if we pass in a validator function, that should be it. Okay, if there's no validator, then we can say, can you please return new form builder, and then group that with the form object. Now we got our function logic done. It's going to return us a form group. Now another thing that I would like to show you here is another function which I'm actually going to paste. It's a confirm password match function, which is a type of function, a validator function, which takes a form group and validated errors, and then it will create a password field, grab that password field from a form group, and then it will match that with the confirm password. If it's matching, then it will return true. If it's not matching, then it will return false. So if you read this code, you will get it. Now here it's asking me to import, so I'll just do a quick fix while importing form group. And also I'm just gonna do a quick fix here, add validation errors as well. So let's save everything. Now our service is all good. We have interfaces, we have HTML done. Now let's give it a shot. Let's create, let's use this form group from this app component HTML file. Okay. Now here, first of all, let's go to app component.ts file there, and let's create a form object. Now for that, I'm actually going to paste some code here because I don't want to waste some time. So let's just go ahead and copy that. And then I'm just gonna do a constructor function, and within the constructor function, I'm gonna paste that here. Now I'm going to create two variables right on the top, which will be basically a form group and a form properties object. So let's paste them here as well. So we have this form group. I'm just gonna try importing everything. So let's just quick fix, add import, quick fix, add all missing imports. That should fix the problem. We have one variable, a login, which is an input element. We have a login form, which is a type of form group. Okay, that's all good. So we're gonna have to create this form group by sending this object to our create form group function. For that, we're gonna import form service. So right on the top in a constructor function, I'm gonna use a private FC variable, and I'm gonna use a form service. And right on top, we can see we have auto import done for us. So let's go all the way down, and then I'm going to say this dot login form equal to this dot fc dot create form group, and we're going to pass in this dot login. Okay, so basically we're using this function. We're pushing in this this login object. Basically, it's an array of some form elements, and then we basically creating that form group, and then we're setting that equal to login form. That's all good. Now we're going to go to app component, and I'm just going to remove this, and I'm going to use a form object, and inside the form I can name this as, let's just say, login form, for example. So we'll do login form. Let me explain how I use that module. So we created a form element, we pass in a name as form, and then form group would be login form. We use a directive, no validate, and here have ng submit function. Now if you take a look at app component.ts file, here I just defined that, and I strongly typed that, hey, if you're expecting a form, that has to be form group. So here we're passing login form. Next, we create a div element here. So let me just zoom in a bit. We create a div element, and I'm pretty sure you know how to use ng4 in Angular. So we use let login prop of login, and login is this object. So basically these are the properties for your form, and we are passing those properties for app input component. We have to push in the form group there, and then the properties as well. And if you remember, our input component is expecting this form group and form properties. So depending on the form group and the properties, it's basically going to create the form element for us. So let me go back, and then it's a button here. Basically it's a simple button which will show us submit, and we have this disabled. If the login form not valid, then basically keep it undisabled so we can click on it. Okay, yeah, so let me just save everything here, and yeah, that's all good so far. And then we're gonna try running this. So I'm just gonna type ng serve, and let's do a finger cross, and let's just see if that actually run the code. I was able to run it. Let me show you again. It's running actually. Okay, there we go, guys. So we have a form which has a value. So we're going to go to app component.ts file. I'm just going to remove this. Okay, let me get rid of this, and let's save this file, and that should update our form. There you go. We don't have that field anymore. The login button basically, called this submit button, which basically this is email and the password, and we're getting the value. So here I'm gonna leave that value as empty, and I'm gonna remove the password as well. And now I'm gonna try typing that email and the password here. So I'll type hello, and it say enter a valid email address. So I'll type at abc.com, and then I'll say password will be hello world. Now I click on the login button, and that gives me this email and then the password as well. So now you can see how easy it is to create forms for your application. And all of these forms are coming from Angular Material UI library that makes them responsive. So you don't have to worry about responsive UI as well. Now that is going to be available on GitHub. Please check it out, the library, and then give it a start if you like it. And you can use this module, you can use this package if you want to in your project, and then make sure that all the validations for other components are done. I've been using it in my enterprise level web application. So far had no issues at all, because we're using Angular Material for UI and this logic for building a form using a reactive form module from Angular. It's great. So I hope you liked the video. It was a long video. I took my time to create and walk you through how I did it. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe and like the video. Give it a like, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.